Still got the bow line on, and then you could probably release that stern line. So Dan's just on the joystick. So this light breeze is just blowing from left to right. Bow line's off. All clear. So I'll now walk through this centre walkways, makes it nice and easy for me to transit. We've got fenders there. Clear on traffic, Dan.
Thanks,
no
mate.
traffic.
Beauty.
How's your visibility there, mate?
Looking good.
Okay, you got a meter on starboard, all clear. So just for the audience, I think we should go around into the pen here. I can redeploy some fenders on port and we'll do a touch and go, hey?
Sure, sounds good, mate.
Okay. So you can actually see through all these windows and even these side, I'll show you from the camera, this side piece here is actually see-through from the inside, but it still makes sense to have another set of eyes just to cover the other side. So it makes sense for me to be on this side for a bit of visibility from Dan's perspective. This is always fun doing drone and drive at the same time. So once we get into the pen, I'm going to redeploy some of these fenders on starboard to the port side. And remember, with the DPS, you can just hold position if you are doing this by yourself. You don't need two people necessarily, but if you have a second person, you might as well make life easier for yourself. Slow and steady, there's no rush.
How's my clearance there, Dan?
All clear on starboard. So you do get a little bit of noise from the engine fans here, so communication is actually a little bit easier if you just step back a metre, because those fans are quite noticeable there. So if you're hard on hearing, just FYI, stand where I am now as opposed to a metre forward. And obviously if you're coming from an SUV or a sedan style boat, we do have more windage now. Again, that is where an IPS is actually going to help you. All clear on starboard, heaps of room. Because you can just hold station, the boat will just dial up and down the power as is required to maintain position. Really good viz here. Even sitting in this corner, I can pretty much see all the way to the bow. And all we'll do is just spin in here and a touch and go. So I'm just going to reposition the drone now. I'll get it up in the sky and leave it there. Okay. And now I'm going to rotate this fender. And we're deliberately picking the port side just so Dan's got better viz, because the wing station's on port. The second wing station up on the flybridge is actually on starboard. Needed to come in on starboard. That might be a little bit easier choice for you. And that's where that walkway is super useful. Okay, so let's just pick a spot. Okay, that seems logical there. If you do have a big window, hang the fender just a little bit lower so it's on the solid part, not on the window. All right, you happy to spin and do touch and go?
Yeah, let's put it in there.
Good control here. You're all clear on the stern. All clear for the next pole. So it's nice to do this in an area where we do have, we're essentially simulating what you're going to be doing, guys. So just to give you a feel for what life will be like, picking up friends. And hopefully loading up with seafood and booze. So I even remember the days when a maneuver like this would perhaps not have been considered if you didn't have many hands to help, but this is where technology allows us to really squeeze in. Give you that shot. I don't need this fender anymore, but what I can do is keep it in hand as a roaming fender should we need, not that we will. All right, you got meters off the bow. Even though you can see there, I'll give you an overhead shot. These are perfectly fine to hold on to if you just want some stability. Obviously they can be deployed to protect the transom when you're in social mode. We don't even need to touch down, we can just go in another meter or two.
Sure.
Just for the demonstration. So if you are boarding on port or starboard, this is the logical place because these railings can go in place here and then you've actually got something to hold on to on both sides. So it's really easy to get on and off. And yeah, look at that. I can step off right now. Piece of piss. All right, simulate, load up all the friends and gear. This is the perfect place to do it. And let's rock and roll, mate. All good, all clear. Right. 2 meters behind you. And now I'll just check the traffic. Clear on starboard. Okay. I like to close these stern gates once we're off so you don't lose any fenders or loose items. So that's it. If you're coming from a sedan or a 40-foot boat, this is a very logical next step. I think it's time to go out and test her in the sea. All right, guys, so we have repositioned into an area just off Rottnest Island where we will be able to have access to some swells. The wind is coming in now, pretty moderate. It's probably about 15 knots at the moment and maybe increasing, but we're going to utilize the flat water first and then we will head into some of the swells that we have available to us, and we'll go into them, across them, and then down the waves, and we'll try out all the different speeds as well. I have average fuel rate here, and I've got litres per nautical mile there, and my instant flow just here. So you might be able to see that through camera one, but I will be talking to you about it at the appropriate times. I've got my RPMs just here. I'm also navigating today, so it's lovely to have all 3 screens available to us because there is a bit of reef around this part of the world, and Dan was just telling me this is one of the highest insurance claim parts of the world, or parts of Australia, I should say. So there you go. Got to watch where you're going. But we're in good clear water out here, so we're just going to get the boat moving, get her up on the plane. I'm just heading straight for 2,000 RPM and 1,800 there. Okay, stop panning. All right, 18 knots and climbing already. I'm just going to get to about 20 and then we'll put her straight into a turn because I've got a tourist boat up here on starboard. I don't want to get into his way or in his way. 2,000 RPM. Okay, let's start our turn now. All right. Okay, so we do have a gyro generator on, gyro on this boat. We are going to be activating that a little bit later in the video. So the gyro is off right now. The Volvo trim assist is on auto. So that's going to be doing its thing. I'm just going to be getting back onto our original course. I'm going to check my navigation before I get yapping because this is a new part of the world to me and I don't want to hit any reefs. And then I'll start talking to you about fuel flow. So I can see my track that I followed before coming up into view. I can see the markers that I want to be looking out for. So there they are on the chart and there they are in real life. So that looks good. We are starting to get some swells, just little short choppy stuff coming through on this direction and the boat's handling it nicely. So if any of you have seen the 505 SUV video on the channel already, this is the same hull. So she's a lovely offshore hull, this one, and obviously in the flybridge configuration. So there are differences because we have more weight, we have more windage, so it is going to behave differently if you're comparing it to an SUV. And just coming through at 22 knots, we can call that a slow cruise, and we are consuming 8.5 litres per nautical mile. The boat feels good, and I'm just going to put her in some gradual turns. Go to starboard first. And we're just feeling the centre of gravity here in terms of what it's like driving from a higher position as opposed to a sedan style that you have on the SUV. Because if you are considering moving into your first flybridge, there are going to be a few differences driving from this position. One thing, you're not going to notice the engine noise so much compared to a sedan style boat because the engines are another level down. So holding conversation is really good. The other thing, these enclosed flybridges are fantastic for the Australian climate. So the AC is awesome. The overhang of the roof is great for shade. If I want sun or air, natural air, I've got windows I can open. I've got a sunroof that I can manipulate. So that's all very comfortable. I'm just gonna start heading in this direction. The wind has definitely increased since the drone shoot. We got an extra 10 knots already since an hour ago. And so you can really control your environment. So if it's cold that you're worried about, or if it is heat that you're concerned about, you don't have to worry. And you can really sort of sit back and enjoy the ride, even from this seated position. 5'7" is my stature. I can just see the bow, or I can maneuver myself a little bit further forward on the seat. I've got awesome viz. Obviously standing up is pretty easy too. And we're just going to give it a little bit of a fast cruise and wide open before we get to the big stuff. So bring it up to 2,250 RPM. I can see 8.5 litres per nautical mile. I can see a total fuel flow of 220 odd litres, and I'm getting a speed return of 26, now 27 knots. Now let's give it one little blast of wide open before, it's not totally flat water here guys, so we're just gonna do what we can here. Okay, clear of the rocks, which is good. And I'm seeing 30 knots and climbing. I'm seeing 8.5 litres per nautical mile, but 200 and 80 litres total consumption. She's skipping across these waves quite nicely. 31 knots. Let's back that pace off now because we are very soon going to be clearing this reef. I'll start a little bit of a redirection into the waves. Okay, reef is in there. I'm clear, so I'm just starting to ever so slightly point my bow into the swell, and just at 26 knots, and I'll back the speed off a little bit when we get into the big stuff. We've got proper white caps around now, just letting the auto trim do its thing, and Seakeeper can still stay off. Don't need it at the moment, just not necessary. This is a loaded boat, privately owned, so we are weighted. We've got about 40% to 50% fuel on board, approximately. And now we're going to start coming into some of the waves. I'm doing that now at a slow cruise, or 21 knots. Litres per nautical mile is pretty consistent. And pretty soon we will see a little bit more sizable waves, and we'll start turning into those. I just want to keep this angle for a bit. So I've got the waves on this direction at the moment. They're a short wave period, so this would be considered an uncomfortable sea state. It's fair to say. And now that we've got this is good. Now that we've got some proper wind, it's a realistic test. You're going to see conditions like this in the Mediterranean, and you're going to see, all around the world, to be fair. And I was told by Dan that they had 3-metre swells in this location just on the weekend. So we're lucky today because there was breaking waves in this area. I'm just going to ride a couple more waves. 1, 2. So extra movement up here, nothing that you can't manage if you're used to boating. Visibility is obviously better because we can see further from the higher vantage point, and also in these shallow waters where you do need to be looking out for reef, that might be a consideration for you. So I'm just going to bear away to port now. Clear on traffic. Coming through a few waves. They're all short, sharp ones. And so you're going to have to look through camera 1 and 2 to see the white caps, because it's not going to be obvious as it was not as windy through the drone shoot an hour ago. And I'm going to increase this speed. So I'm coming from 19, 20 knots, going to be running down swell in a second. And let's get it back up to 2,200 RPM. Obviously much more comfortable down swell, but it's fair to say all Rivieras are just boats you would take in the ocean. I'd have no qualms about driving. Actually, in fact, this very boat, I believe, featured. What's the YouTube channel? It's Professional Boat Care.
That's right. Yep.
Okay, I'll leave a link in the description below. This guy, I did a super binge on his channel just 2 Friday nights ago. He makes great videos. He's a delivery skipper, Queensland based, I think. And he actually took this boat. Did he? Because I haven't watched the videos on this one. Was it? Did he?
From the Gold Coast up to Hamo.
From the Gold Coast to Hamo. So he's made a video of this very boat. So it's probably worth a watch, because I've seen a couple of his other videos. He's done some great trips on a Nordhaven 68 that I'm going to be actually featuring on the channel soon. So I spent my Friday night thoroughly enjoying watching his content, and this actual boat is in it. So back to my point, I would never ever think twice about doing offshore runs on a Riviera. They are so different compared to a lot of the European boats that I feature, which are designing for a different purpose. So they are often doing open style flybridges because the sun is not so strong, and because people boat, how do I describe this? When you go to Europe, people always ask you what you're doing for the summer, whereas we don't have that sort of conversation or terminology in Australia. We just boat all year round, but Europeans and people in northern parts of America, they really have this like seasonal thing. In the summer they go boating, and in the winter they go skiing and all this sort of stuff. So their boats are much more designed to optimize the hot weather, and they're less useful in variable conditions, whereas a Riviera is going to be awesome all year round. And that's one of the key takeaways. So you need to think, how are you going to boat? It's always the question, what's your mission? And then find the boat that matches that mission. So if that is something that's important to you, boating all year round or having access to a greater weather window, then something like this is going to open that up to you. The extra length, I suspect many of you are going to be moving out of boats in their 40-foot range, whether that's outboards or inboards. The extra length is going to make it across the swells in a more comfortable manner, and the extra real estate and this design, the enclosed fly, is going to be great. So just coming in at 25 to 26 SOG, comfortable. Got the swells on the port beam. We're still sitting at 8.5 litres per nautical mile, but 220 approximately total consumption at a 2,200 RPM. Super low noise levels, virtually no vibrations. And now let's just check your displacement speeds for slow speed cruise. And then we're going to have a play with the gyro, because it is noticeable. I always find it a bit of a challenge to capture that on camera properly, because what we feel as opposed to what I see through the drone doesn't look like it's the perfect match. But I did my best earlier, so hopefully it's going to be obvious to you, because you know, from this location up here, as opposed to being downstairs, if you don't have a gyro, depending where you are in the world, you are going to notice it. And so you just need to ask yourself and your missus, are you someone who is prone to seasickness, or is that movement going to make you uncomfortable? And if the answer is yes, order the gyro. It's as simple as that. Or if your mates who come boating with you a lot, or your family, if they're prone to seasickness, that is one thing that's going to kill your day. And so you need to kind of answer that question accurately. So here we are at 9.5 knots SOG, 1,000 to 1,100 revs, consuming 38 litres total. 38 litres total, seeing 9 knots. Still making a little bit of wash at the back there, so I don't think we saw, I think 6 knots is the no wash zone speed, but let's just drop it a little bit more, get down to 8 knots, clear on the nav. So just seeing 900 RPM there. It's more like 7.7, and you know, that's pretty non-offensive for a lot of people. But if you're going into a mooring field, I think it's going to be 6 knots, because you just always want to think, am I going to knock someone off their stand-up paddleboard? And if the answer is yes, slow down a little bit. And in terms of seeing your stern waves, because of the design here, particularly on the starboard aft quarter, you can actually see through the glass or the clears there. So you can see it just from the helm. However, we have cameras available to us as well. And so now at 600 and call it 650 RPM, I see 6 knots, 10 litres total consumption. So that's long range, slow cruise, and non-offensive. So let's just stop the boat now. All right, so I'm going to deliberately leave the boat beam on to the sea. Okay, let's just activate DPS. So as you might be able to see through camera 1 and camera 2, the wind is coming from the island straight on us, and this should be the most uncomfortable angle. So let's just leave it for a couple of seconds, let the boat build up a bit of rock, and it might be most obvious to you through the camera if you actually line up the horizon or just focus on the horizon. You'll eventually see the boat rocking, and you'll see it even more because I noticed the DPS has a stabilization effect. So if I just drift now that we've stopped, we'll let this rock build up, look through camera 1 and see the boat moving. And in a second, when we've got a bit more rock on, I'm going to activate the gyro. Okay, so now it's starting to move. It's still, to be fair, inherent stability is pretty good. I'm struggling to get it rocking as much as I wanted to, but hopefully you get the idea. And let's just activate it now. And you know, it's not rolling as much as I thought it would. But it was before, so you're gonna have to trust me on the drone shots that we took for you before, because these waves are just a little bit small. I'll just turn it off again and try one more time just for good measure. We've got a decent amount of, we're probably starting to drift at half a knot now, because we've got some, I'd say 15 knots on the beam. Okay, here we go. I can feel some movement now. It's much more pronounced when you're in places like Sydney, where you have these big swells coming through. And obviously, if we were trying to do this out where we were before, it's going to be super obvious. And here we go. Activate the gyro. Now it's rock solid. Okay, we're going to go from here. We're going to go find somewhere to drop the anchor and wrap this video for you. So anchoring the vessel was pretty straightforward. We just went, I went up to the bow and released the safety, but then you can pretty much, or you can, do everything from up here at the helm. We can operate the anchor from the bow as well if you so desire. So that's it. I hope that was useful, guys. I might just come in here. I'm positioning myself so you can enjoy the views, because I just love this place. It's epic. This is what it's all about. It excites me. How does she perform? How does she handle? And what should you be thinking about if you're buying a boat like this? I think it's definitely, or can be, a solo operator vessel. And as long as you have enough experience or prepared to commit to the right amount of training, because you just do need to consider that extra windage that you have on a vessel like this. Again, we touched on that on a video before, so it's nothing new to you. In terms of the boat overall, it's a wonderful piece of kit. It's very high quality. It's more than capable for all sorts of adventures. What would you compare it to out there on the market? Not a lot, to be honest. Yes, I know Maritimo is there, but they're focused on shafts. So if you want to do some station hold and solo operate, this is the better option. The joystick is going to be much more user-friendly for that style of boating. And when you're looking at all the European or Northern Hemisphere builds, there just isn't anyone focused on, in my observations, on this all year round boating, rugged build, with a heavy reliance on owner-operator, which is what I see here. So many of the other builders from 50 foot and up, they're all putting crew cabins in. They're all focusing on a different style of boating. If you want to be an owner-operator and you want to go remote and you want to have options, I think this is a very, very good boat to do it. It will also do that cool social day boating thing that many of you want to focus on. So if you want to head in that direction, or if you want to go remote, something like this, in my opinion, will do both for you. So it could be a good choice. See you somewhere around the world next time. Thanks, guys.